I will call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
It's the roll call vote for the April 11th work session of the City of South Fulton City Council. The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Here.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5. The Honorable Natasha Williams Brown, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Linda B. Pritchett, District 7.
Here.
And lastly, the Honorable Mayor Khalid.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, would you sound the next item?
The next item on the agenda is City Manager items, staff reports. The first report will be the Finance Monthly Report, presented by Karin Slaton Dixon, Finance Director.
We've also collected 124% of other taxes and 147% of charges for services. And overall, we collected 79% of the projected revenue. On slide 3, this is a summary of our expenditures for general funds as of February 28th. We show 12% overall of expenditures spent out of the general fund. On slide 4, we have the general fund year-to-date revenues. We received 27.3% in 2022 taxes. So that's 101% overall of what was actually billed out. And we received 111,843 in taxes from the west side tax and 38,036 from the east side tax. On slide 5, we have our general fund year-to-date local option sales tax loss. We're showing a collection of $2.6 million, which is 21.1% overall that was received in February of 2022. On slide 6, this is our general fund year-to-date loss, and here we're showing a collection of $1.5 million, which is 11.81% over this time in FY22. And on slide 7, this is once again just a summary of our expenditures based on slide 3. In slide 8, this is a summary of revenues and expenditures for all funds as of February 2023. So this shows your revenues and expenditures side by side. And on slide 9, we have our confiscated assets, and we have a bank balance of $503,315.97 with, as of February, $201,693 coming from cash confiscated. And the expenditures from training shows $3,400 spent year to date. And on our next page here, which is council supplemental information, we have no changes from January in our ARP funds. And of course, the RFP was awarded to the Anzer Advisory LLC. And then on our contracts, 25,000 or more, I'll update that on our March 2023 report because of some staff changes, we need to get that information updated. And I do have the January monthly report available, and I will send that out just for your records. And at this time, I'll take any questions.
All right. Seeing no one in the queue, could you go back to the slide with the TADs? I know you guys are working on that in the back. Thank you.
Which slide was that one?
with the east side and the west side TAD.
Okay. Under- So you want me to go over the 111,843 that was collected versus the 38,036?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So if you'll take a look at the top box, the county actually billed out 210,733 for the west side TAD. And according to February, they said that they had actually collected 111,843 of that 210,000 that was billed out by the county. And the same thing with the east side. They billed out 240,573, and they're showing that they've collected for the city 38,036. And so they send that information to us each month.
They're on a July 1 fiscal year?
Yeah, that I'm not sure, because we just received the March numbers today. So they normally send us out an email, because you will notice that even what they actually billed out each month for property tax, it changes from month to month, because in the top box it says 46,806,385. Based on their adjustments and assessments that are done, appeals, that number can change. So we wait till we get that information from the county.
Okay. Dr. L.
Yes, I noticed under the ARPA spending, we have a number of expenditures. Have we reported that out so we can make sure that we don't have money sitting out there accounted for, or in the process of doing that?
You mean reported out on the required reports for the ARP funds?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, our grant manager does that. And we actually received an email that that's due, if I make no mistake, by the end of this month, April.
But it's already been done.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Councilwoman Willis?
T-SPLOS funding, who's accounting for that?
We actually received that information as well from when the bank, when it actually hit our account through ACH, so it actually posts, and so we get an email based on that collection as well.
So did I miss it? Is it a report for T-SPLOS?
Yeah.
Yes, it is on.
What-
You mean on the slide that says for month ending February, year-to-date T-SPLOS revenue?
What slide is that?
8.
Okay, so I'm on slide 8, and, okay, T-SPLOS. So that is how much we have collected fiscal year 2023, total T-SPLOS, and that's the new T-SPLOS, T-SPLOS 2, correct?
Correct.
17,500,
That's correct.
okay. And
Well,
not,
you said 17, so you
Million.
mean 7 million.
I meant 17,500,000, and only of that, 531,000 has been expended.
Wait. No,
Year to date?
For February.
no, you. I think
No, that's
you-
year to date.
I think you're looking at confiscated assets. Is that what you're looking at?
Okay, hold on one
Because
second.
you're looking at
Page
the
8.
Okay, so we haven't expended any T-SPLOS yet.
Well, on my report, I only show our revenues. Wait, let me make sure
Page
you're on the
8.
same.
Okay, so
slide.
I'm looking at slide 8, and under, it says revenue year to date, it has budgeted 17,500,000. And then when I go over to the expenditures, it says 17,500,000, and then year to date, it has 531,000.
Okay. All right, and so, yes, now we have expended some funds from there. I will update that.
So year
That
to,
information for you.
so year to date is 531,000?
Let me get on the right
Ms.
slide.
Slaton Dixon, is that one of the slides you changed?
No, it's not.
It shouldn't?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
It's on, I'm on slide 8.
Okay. Right, and so, yes, okay, I see where you are now. So we've expended, yes, 531,387. But the budget was 17,500,000, correct?
Okay. So,
And this is as of February. This is not the overall life of the second T-Splosh.
right. So this is the budget, that what we budgeted. Do we have actual that we have collected?
I'll get that information because I noticed it's not on here. I see what you're asking.
Okay. So can I make a suggestion?
Because if you look, yes, it is. Let me make sure. If you will go to my slide number, where 6, where I talk about general fund year-to-date T-Splosh revenues. 6.
Okay.
You got 7 million.
So you see 7,113,643.
Okay, I'm on, you said slide 6?
Yes, that's correct. It'll say general fund year-to-date T-Splosh revenues for the month ending February 28.
Okay, so, okay, let's say 7 million, 1 million. Okay, so is there any way that we can, have a more comprehensive T-Splosh slide? One with collections, one with the budget, actual collections, and actual expenditures?
Yes, I can do that. I can add that slide.
Because it was kind of confusing, because you got one on one slide and,
Okay. All right. I'm making that note. I'll make that change for you.
okay, and then one more question. The TADs, so is this only for collected based off of the our municipal taxes? We're not, because we haven't gone into an agreement with the school or county yet. So is this just based off of municipal taxes?
And when they send that information to us, they don't have it broken down based on that information. They just tell us west side and east side tab. So I would have to see if they can send that information to us.
Yeah, if you could ask for them to break down how much of it is, if it's all municipal,
Okay.
which is county and which is school. I'm not aware of them getting into any agreement yet, so, but if you could just let us know what that is encompassed of.
Okay, all right. I'll get that email sent out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, Mr. Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is item number 2 under Roman numeral 3, City Manager Monthly Report, presented by Don Toms, Acting City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You should have the total city manager report. I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights, starting with solid waste. Currently during the month, the city staff worked on the routes for collection and should have sent to each council member the address listing. That way you can see the routes. The final version should be available during the month of April, which will have the maps. Our solid waste, Mr. Goin Burkett, he's currently working on an interactive map so that residents can type in their address and their information will actually pull up. So he's finalizing that information along with the maps for the council. The solid waste carts, all the design work has been sent to the producer and is in the final state of production. We are undergoing the final review of for the second reading of the solid waste ordinance. That would be loaded into the legislative portal by April 14th for council review. Our education materials, we are working on that information. That way we can provide the council with draft. That way we can have a chance together to review the information. And then the plans are to mail those documents to our residents, put it up on social media, the website, and also assist the council members with adding the information to your newsletter. We also have additional components for live meetings that we will work with the council members to see where we need to be during the month of May. And then we are still on schedule for a June 1st rollout. The city has been revamping the city website. You'll see this in several pages to include the city council members' pages. The department reports, as noted at our last work session, we have updated through February 23rd on the website. The council should have received those total department packages, and the March package should be available by the end of this week. As we continue to transition to live meetings, currently the two spaces that we have available for board meetings and staff meetings is right here at the Welcome All multipurpose room and also at City Hall in the back break room. We're still trying to identify if space is available at the Southwest Art Center, but they keep a fairly busy schedule, so we certainly don't want to interfere. And as we approach summer, both our Parks and Rec and Cultural Affairs gets a little bit more busy. One thing that we're working on currently and will be a multi-month task is identifying succession plans. We are beginning working with various departments on cross-training, and we want to be able to present that and include that in the upcoming fiscal year 24 budget. That way we can see the positions, have them color-coded so you see who's been cross-trained, and also do a thorough review of job descriptions to make sure that there is ample cross-training and knowing, where the overlap is, in addition to looking at the policies and procedures and internal documents to make sure that if staff members leave, that there's ample notes and information there to move forward, and that someone above or below that position has also been cross-trained. In addition to that, coming up on the April 25th council agenda, they have received and reviewed the RFP for the city's class and comp study. So that will be presented for approval at the April 25th council agenda meeting. The strategies that have been identified in the reports hit the goal one, invest in development, strong teams, and also for focus on economic development. And I believe there was a question about the Wolf Creek. That is under final review with the city attorney's office, and the contract should be available for signature by week's end. And I'll make sure that we send out a copy to everyone prior to the signature.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Councilman Willis?
Thank you for your report. Are you saying for the month of April, we only have available meeting spaces, Welcome All Park and City Hall?
These are meetings not including for the city council. Your meetings will still be at Southwest Art Center and here.
Oh, okay.
So these are for the other board meetings and those type of meetings that are utilized by staff.
Okay. I just wanted to bring attention to you that I'm still getting a lot of complaints from residents that they're not able to get through City Hall to specific departments for various reasons. I can't pin it on one department, but I'm still getting a lot of complaints from residents that they can't get through to anybody at City Hall.
Okay, I believe we have a presentation coming up that will address some of that.
Okay, and then the pay and class study, is there any way that, are they gonna present? Because the last time we had a pay and class, pay and comp study, what happened was the person who did the study came and presented before council and before approval, so it's almost like we just.
No, this is the RFP came in. This is to get approval to go with that vendor.
Oh, okay, so this is not the
Yeah,
actual
this
study?
is not the actual presentation.
Okay. And then the T-Splosh projects, can we get, I know I just asked for a full accounting of it, but we also need the projects that are going to be, we need an itemized list of what the projects are going to be for T-Splosh 2.
Okay. would you
Like road pavements.
And I'll also include a map. That way you can see the maps by districts.
Okay. And then the street signs, you sent a report of how many street signs was, but it wasn't any detail on what streets there were. And it's my understanding Champion Park street sign that still hasn't been replaced. And I need a timing on when that's going to be done because they've been waiting 2 years for it.
Okay, I'll shoot out an email this weekend and update the Champion Park and also the schedule.
Yeah, that's
for-
what we got was what was done. I mean, it was like very numerical, but it was no details about where those signs went or anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Rao.
Yes, I had a question. Specifically, you in your report talk about union contract negotiations beginning at the earlier part of this month. How long do you anticipate that process will be this year?
I believe there are 4 meetings scheduled for the month of April, and a report should be presented to the council in May.
Okay. So good, that's considerably less time than we've had in the past, so that's good. And then there was one other question I had relative to the, well, you had the goals outlined under the strategic plan, but there's, in the future, can you provide more details under those bullets? That's
Yes,
what I
ma'am.
asked. In fact, some of these things that you have bulleted probably can be under those categories, the way you have it structured, just an observation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Willis, you're back in the queue. Okay. So a couple of questions. I asked for you to present this report because it is possible that we will end our emergency ordinance. If not next month, at some point, we would have to end that. This question, I guess, is for Attorney McClendon. The boards and commissions, do they have to meet in city spaces? Can they meet in a library or a Masonic lodge or some other public space?
Thank you for that. They do not have to meet in city buildings. They only have to meet in spaces that are accessible to the public.
All right. So that's good. That gives us a little more opportunity. I want to follow up with you, Mr. Toms, about the sanitation. What day will the mailer go out to the city? Maybe not like the specific day, but like where are we in that process? Because we're coming up on the first.
Yes, we're hoping this month we'll have the information for mayor and council to review, gather your input for any changes that you think is pertinent to the residents, and then get that out. I would think we should be able to get that out this month. That way they have plenty of time.
And then what day will the call center go live?
That I have to get back to you. Usually the call center will go live the week of actual operations.
I'm going to strongly suggest that the call center go live the day we send the items out in the mail. We already are a little overwhelmed with phone calls at City Hall, so when people get that mailer, if they have follow-up questions, it'd be nice to have some additional staff. And then lastly, Mr. Valenzuela, you sent out a, if you don't mind, could we bring Mr. Valenzuela up? I'm supposed to ask. You sent out a T-SPLOST project list for 2022 through 2027, July of last year. Has it changed from that final list that you sent out then?
No, sir, it should have changed. That was a project list that was approved by the city of Fulton, and then approved by Fulton County.
All right,
So
and
that was for T+2.
okay, so that's the second this next 5 years of T-SPLOST.
That's correct, yes.
All right. The follow-up question, because we had some concerned citizens, Councilman Sebastian and I share some citizens in District 4 that had issues about gravel roads. Those are not covered in T-SPLOST, but if we need to fix potholes, where do you get that money from?
That will come out of the maintenance funds for construction and operations. And we're currently working on a cycle to maintain all the gravel roads that we have throughout the city. We have about 27 plus miles of gravel roads.
All right, and you probably can stay up here. Those are all my questions. We're segueing right into your presentation now. Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. City Manager, I do have a couple of follow-up questions for you. One with regards to the mailer. We are not going to have to wait until the next City Council meeting to take action on that mailer, right? You guys, it's just an administrative task because
It is an administrative task,
Yeah.
But I am going to send it out to the council members to review before we mail it out.
Okay, and the reason why I'm really with the mayor with this, pushing this, because the calls and the texts and the emails are increasing because we're getting closer to the date. And so as much as we have talked about this, having these different meetings and publish things in my newsletter, there's a section on sanitation that in my newsletter, and it remains there. We're still getting the calls and all that sort of stuff increasing. So the sooner we can get that out to the public, I believe is the better. Because calls are now coming in, especially around, I got a bill from my carrier for 3 months, and you guys start in June. What do I do? Yeah, I've had those questions. And I've faced that myself, in which I went into the vendor's portal and just found the bill and changed the period, and I said, I owe you for 1 month because I'm out June 1st, and I paid that fee rather than the entire bill. But people have these kind of questions that they're asking more and more now. So the sooner we can get something in every hands of our citizens, it's going to be the better. Okay? The next thing is about CDRA, because I know I think I sort of addressed this with you as well. Generally, I think CDRA is going well, but we're still having the issues around backup, it feels like, people, right? And it's nobody's fault. You know, I tell people we have a lot of projects going on in this city, but are we there in terms of recruiting staff or hiring contractors where we feel like, you know, we'll be okay for the next 3 to 6 months?
Yes, and it's my understanding that some job offers have gone out this week to fill some of the vacancies.
Okay, so no outside use of contractors to take us over the hump. We're still just hiring. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Willis.
Around CDRA, I'm going to need a lot of support around community outreach. I have approximately 6 different developers that are in District 3, and residents need to understand zoning and future land use. And then particularly, I would like to have staff, when I go out to talk with residents, at least a staff person there to hear the concerns and address residents when it comes to zoning questions. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but it has definitely picked up in District 3. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments or questions, Mr. Clerk, you can sound the next item.
That brings us to item number 3 of a Public Works Monthly Report presented by Antonio Valenzuela, Director of Public Works.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council, and residents of the City of South Fulton, Acting City Manager. I'm going to try to be very brief with the Transportation Staff Report because we have a great presentation on paving management coming up, and I would like you to fully devote your attention so that way you will understand what we've done for all the roads that we have within the City of South Fulton, since we have finalized the assessment of about 615 center miles for the city. But the report that you have in front of you now, it's an updated report throughout the month of March. We've done a few changes since the last month that we discussed with you. We have 6 sections on the report. It goes from 1 to 6. We also added more specifics for your districts. So that way, when you need something, you can just pull it or print it out, just your specific district, and you'll have the information right there when it comes to transportation. So a few things to highlight on this report. It's besides the 6 sections that we have added section number 5 as facility capital projects that are outside URA. The URA report continues to be by itself and standalone report that you should receive that as well today. We send it up to April 7 with all the information on the project, on those projects. We are about to finalize most of our commitment for URA projects. The main project is the center, and I believe we're doing very well. We're still on the schedule. We're ahead of schedule. And we hope that we can finalize all our commitments for this venue ahead of schedule. Well, with regards to a few highlights on transportation, I would like to start with White Mill Road, a project that was fully, the sub-base was recreated. We did a full depth reclamation, which is called FDR. The project is fully paved now, and the final striping should be in place within the next 2-3 weeks. And besides that, we're also going to be doing other improvements to ensure that the road is safer. We're going to post some speed signs, as well as other chevron signs that allows drivers to know that we have vertical curves or horizontal curves. Also, the letting of Campbellton and Snow Hotel intersection improvement, it's underway. Clear and Graben is underway, and we hope that we can move as fast as we can on that project. The Danforth Road sidewalks was also led to, we issued the kickoff meeting. We are about to finalize the schedule with the contractor and issue the NTP to the vendor. We were successful in finalizing this, the Inner Road speed study, and we have made a recommendation to Georgia DOT to lower the speed, the posted speed from 45 to 35 miles per hour. As soon as we receive a response from Georgia DOT, we will inform PD and others, and hopefully it's a positive response so that we can get into the road and change all the posted speed signs that we have. Also, we have a new signal installed already that we worked that out with Georgia DOT at the State Route 138 and Bethsaida Road. The new signal was installed. Some ADA ramps were installed. We're just on the last stages of getting power for those signals. And then the signals will be bagged right now, and they will continue to be bagged until there's power of those signals. Upon power being on, the signal will start flashing for about 30 days, which is called a burn-in period. After that, the signal will come out and we'll hope that this intersection is much safer. Besides that, if you have any questions, I can answer, or just allow our consultants on the paving management. That's going to take a bit longer on the presentation, but I'll be here to assist them as well.
Oh, I have some, let me go in the queue.
All right, okay. Councilman Willis?
Mr. Valenzuela, are we still on track with these LET dates for these roundabouts, city roundabouts? I know the last work session, I went through each one in my district, and I'm not going to go through that today, but I just want to make sure that we're still on track.
As far as the public works concerns, yes, we are on track.
For example, one I pulled up was Butner and Union Road. It says target let date is April 2023, that's this month. Total parcels 11, acquired 10, remaining 1. So are we still on track?
Yes, ma'am. The project, the ITV was submitted to our procurement department for advertising. As soon as they do their part, and we should be coming out with, after being bid out, we should be coming out with a recommendation for the lowest bidder and proceed with construction.
Okay. All right. I'll get a meeting with Mr. Toms and you next week to go over these different items in District 3 to make sure we're still on track. The only other thing I would ask, if we could get a better handle on these different utility projects that's happening throughout the city, so that we can alert our residents when they're happening. And then when they tear up our roads for whatever utility work they're doing, who is supposed to be following up behind these utility companies to make sure that they restore it back to the condition that it was? Because they're bringing in a lot of heavy trucks, and you know they're doing a lot of, and most of it is the grid project, where they're taking the wires and putting them underground. But we need some timing on when these projects are going to start in, so that we can communicate to our residents, because I get questions on how long is it going to take, how long is it going to, impede traffic, which I'm happy for the grid upgrade because it's desperately needed, but it's not a good feeling when we can't respond to residents on how long it's going to take and if they're going to restore our curb appeal back to what it was and the streets back to what it was.
Yeah, you stand correct, Ms. Willis. There's a letter that we're preparing for those utility companies that are working on our roads. Our intention is to request from them to restore the rights-of-way that have impacted. In some cases, drainage has been impacted. Edge of asphalt roads have been impacted, and sidewalks as well. So there's a letter that is going to go through them requesting that upon the completion of their jobs, the work that they're performing, that they need to restore to prior conditions.
Are they communicating with you or the city when they have these major projects going on in our city?
It's very difficult. We received one time their schedule, but as you know, that schedule has blown from the date that we received, but we're constantly on them. They have numerous subcontractors working for them, so it's making it a bit difficult to really follow through all the details that we have. But we have our utility coordinator, as well as Mr. Martinez, been on top of all those utility issues that we have.
Because I'm finding out they're doing work by just pulling over on the side of the road, asking them what they're doing. And it just seems like they will have more formal communication with the city on what they're doing, when they're going to start the work, where they're going to be, and when it's anticipated to commence. I understand that they're dealing with inclement weather, but to have no communication is unacceptable.
Yeah, it is a challenge. You stand absolutely correct. But we're doing everything we can to to get with them. It's one of our primary concerns to ensure that they do their part and they allow us to do, because they're also impacting. We have issues with litter. We have issues with right-of-way maintenance in some of those areas. So we'll be getting with them.
Okay, and my last question is around the litter. Have you had any luck with, because you said you were going to hire 4 more people to help us with the right-of-way cleanup, and do we have someone that's constantly going around checking the trash receptacles on the right-of-ways? Because I'm constantly having to send in requests to have those empty.
Yes, ma'am. We have added our staff. We actually have Broadview that picks up. Our staff does it twice a week now. And we are making offers to 4 employees that we hope that if everything goes okay with HR, we should be bringing them in-house in the next 3-4 weeks. Hopefully all the documentation goes straight forward, and we're looking forward. And then we're going to dedicate those 4 employees to hot areas that we know where litter pickup is much needed.
Okay. Yes.
If I may, in my city manager's report, I noticed litter initiatives. At our next work session, my plan was to do a complete presentation on our litter initiatives.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I know that Mr. Thompson, I think she mentioned it to you, but I just want to let the council know that Public Works has moved to the boat ride facility. Now we're housed out there, so we have all our operations and the staff that we have. And we'll be doing much better, I believe, as well as I'm sure that some of the phone calls have been an issue for some, but our intention is that everybody that has a phone will be responding to the phone calls.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Antonio, thank you much for your presentation. I won't keep you long. Thank you for the work that is happening on White Mill. I know it's not finished, but already residents are complaining about speeding, right? So I hope we can do some stuff to let people know it's not okay. It's been just replaced, but it's not okay to speed still. Jones Road was closed last Friday. I attempted to go down Jones Road last Friday, and to my surprise, it was closed. That's at the end of Cedar Grove and Jones Road.
Right. Union
And
City.
that's on as if it's Union City. So is there no communication with us when they're closing off Jones Road? Because I know they have construction in the area.
They typically do communicate with us, but I have not received a call from them that they were going to close. We do the same thing. If we're going to close the road, we work with our communications to make sure that there's communication amongst the cities. But I will definitely follow up with them.
And when they do, just let me know so I can let the folks on District 4 know as well.
Yes, sir.
And also, while I have the mic, I really want to send condolences to the Miles family. But I know everyone heard about the accident on Cedar Grove Road last Friday. It's me and my colleagues, I think we got something from our fire chief, but there was a bad accident on Riverton Road in which a young lady died. Sorry, on Cedar Grove Road in which a young lady died. And I continue to appeal to folks that we have to be careful of our behavior on the road too, to be kind to each other on the road. Okay.
All right, seeing no further questions or comments, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is also under Public Works, it's a paving conditions presentation. I believe Mr. Valenzuela is going to introduce Mr. Morgan and Mr. Gardner, who are available online.
Mayor and Council, this is one of the, I hope that you like this presentation. This should allow all council and residents to see why we're milling on overlaying some of the roads and the current conditions of our roads. And for your surprise, we're doing very well. And the technical information that you will receive, it is for you. We're going to make this available to you all. We plan on posting on the website as well. As you know, for our goal to start resurfacing for T+2 projects, it was broken down into three tiers, 23, 24, and 25. And the intention is to, as soon as the bid is out, that we have a lowest bidder recommendation for those 3 years. And for the tier 1 that starts in 23, it starts on the summer, so we can complete by the fall or so. With that said, I will allow first step and the consultants that are online to do the presentation, and then afterwards we'll welcome any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Daryl Gardner, and with us as well is Mr. Mike Morgan. We're very happy to be here today. We'll try to get this as quickly as possible, but I feel like before we can talk about the data that we've gathered, just tell you a little bit about how it's collected, who we are, so it can help us maybe better understand what's yet to come. So first off, First Step Pavement Management isn't a company. It is a group of individuals, professionals, that just saw a need to help our cities and counties. Department of Transportations have pavement management programs, and they have certain standards that they have to meet, but they don't particularly apply to a city or county. Different kinds of traffic altogether, traffic patterns, the way we build them. And so we wanted to maybe come up with something that met the criteria, the needs of a city a little bit better. So having said that, our team consists of Dr. Stacy Williams. She's at the University of Arkansas Civil Engineering Research Center. Every state has their educator that really helps out with, some states have more than one, obviously, but Dr. Williams has been such a crucial person to have an education of pavement management, of really everything having to do with the infrastructure that Public Works has. And so her unbiased voice was very valuable to us, and she was an integral part of the team. Michael Morgan is with Data Stream. He is on this call. Mike was tasked with the whole data collection process. And so he has really came up with a very good technique and system to make very good transparent information available to us. And then finally, I'm Daryl Gardner. I work with Ergon Asphalt and Emulsions. I'm more of a boots on the ground guy, so I understand pavements and kind of when we see certain levels of distresses and the types of those distresses, you know, kind of what treatments, what is the right fix for those pavements. And so that's our team that kind of started this whole ball rolling, I guess I should say. We utilize ASTM V6433 as our data collection methodology. And with a little bit difference, there's some differences in that we're going to assess 100% of your network rather than taking sample areas and extrapolating it out to represent the whole. We're just going to take that guesswork out and drive 100% of your network. It is given back to you as in 3 forms: geolocated video, there is a condition map, a pavement management workbook, and we will review all of those. Some of our goals that we had, and I'm just going to really highlight some of these. We wanted very transparent information, because if it's transparent, then we can all see the same information and we can review it and we can talk about it equally. And it also helps the data to be very accountable. If it's very transparent, then you can see whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether there's problems. And so we really wanted to have the means of making very transparent information so that when you see the data, then you can believe it, that it's true. If we gave you big books of information, it wouldn't be very transparent. We're all different, so we want to, some people like the maps, some people like to look at the video, some people are more data driven and want to go through those workbooks. So we report it back in those 3 different mediums. We're a little bit different in that we also provide operational data for your street department to work with, so that just the information, and you'll see that as we start presenting some of this information, but really you get a lot of information that we can maybe hopefully be more efficient with the way we address potholes, for instance, or structural problems that are out there, because we're going to be able to see the entire network of those issues. We wanted to be very economical. One of the issues that I see in smaller agencies, and when I say small agencies, not DOTs, but cities and counties, are that, we don't get data often enough. A lot of the systems want you to get data every 5 years, and I can assure you that pavements change a lot in 5 years' time, to where after you get into year 3 or 4 and the data is not going to be, it's going to be hard to predict what that pavement really is. You almost have to drive out and look at it again. So by making an economic point where, and this is what Mr. Morgan has done, is to make it quicker to get the data, get very accurate data quicker, then now the price point's lower, so we can get our data more often. So we're actually dealing with actual data more than we are predictive, trying to predict what the pavement's going to be like. And then finally, we want it to be historical. Somebody's going to sit in all of our seats one day doing the same work that we're doing for the city of South Fulton, and we just want to have a historical data. This is where we were. These are the projects that we did. These are the changes we saw. These are our growth areas, and have that historical information so that those that come behind us have that history of what's been done with your streets in South Fulton. This is kind of a view of all three viewing mediums that we have. As you have, here's what the driver is actually seeing, the inspector that's gathering the data. And with that, he creates these condition maps. There's going to be a lot of information that's gathered that then goes into this workbook, so we can sort that information and use it. By the way, all this works with each other. You can see that this highlighted road here, if we clicked on that road, it would find it on this map, and then we could drive the video. So it all works together. It's all the same information. And so what is our goal, and how do we empower people to be successful is, we really, and this has just been, it's been founded as a principle of pavement management for a long time, is that we have to interact earlier with our pavements. We have to move away from this worst first philosophy where we wait till our roads get bad and then we spend our capital on those, to one of having more tools in our toolbox, to where we try to keep our good pavements good. And so by having data that can tell us where these pavements are on a regression curve, then we can hopefully be better stewards of our money, add more service life into our network, and have better roads for less money. We do encourage some simple metrics. We have to know if we're going to be successful if we do this. And I hope that everybody wants to be successful. And so we have some metrics to answer that question, am I being successful? I do know that we spend all of our money on projects that are needed, but that doesn't mean that we're particularly going to be successful. So we try to take some metrics of success and apply those. And if we're not, then we can, maybe we don't have enough revenue to start with, but if we do, let's reprioritize and let's improve. Other services that can be provided, but that's not what we're here for. So in the condition maps that are to follow, when we talk about South Fulton's condition data, I want you to look at, this is an asphalt regression curve, meaning, and so these colors are going to be important. And we hope that it's very intuitive, that green is good, red is bad. And so as we go down this regression curve, you can see it goes from 0 to 100. See these numbers, it's a pavement condition index, where when a pavement is brand new, it has a 100 PCI. It won't be long before it'll start seeing age and cracks. And as it does that, it's going to fall into this good category. We're going to start seeing maybe some construction joints. I have seen that throughout your city. Maybe some other cracks that start forming. And those will ultimately turn into some structural problems, increased cracking as we come down the regression curve. And when we see those distresses, it's going to fall into this different PCI category of fair condition. If we allow that to continue on, we'll start seeing some more isolated and mass structural problems that are right here in this area, right here. And this is critical because our delay penalty becomes really great here. Once a pavement is lost, there's not really a huge delay penalty. The fix is the same. We're going to have to do some major rehab and reconstruction to it. Whereas right here, we can still do something to salvage that pavement before we get into those more expensive costs. But pay attention to these colors, because that's what you're going to see in the data that we're going to present. And I just want to say that, if you look at this is a 30-year span of time right here. And again, this is a hot mix regression curve. If this was concrete, this regression curve would be far out here over its life. But, we have choices. We can interact with our pavements early, or we can wait longer to interact with them. And so we do know that we have some pavements that are down here, and I think that you guys are doing a wonderful plan to address those, and we're going to look at that as well. One thing I did want to point out with the kind of data that Mr. Morgan has developed for us to look at is, in the old ways, we would take a sample area here and here and here and here, and we'd take a deep dive into that pavement, and we would come up with what that pavement condition index is. Then we would average them. And so this whole segment of road here might be one long yellow line. And that's why it doesn't work. It may work on airfields and it may work in certain places, but that's why we wanted to change the way we gather data. We know that this end of the pavement is not the same as this end of the pavement. And so as the condition of the pavement changes, we want to show that so that this is what we call dynamic segmentation. So you get a lot more granular detail of what's really going on with your pavements. Some of the information that we do gather are the level of cracking that you have. You can see these fair condition pavements. The cracking has broadened out to where we're seeing medium to high density pavements. There's just more cracks versus these green areas where it's surface L low density cracks. We don't have many of them. This might be suited more for a crack sealing operation, where this might be more suited for a global preservation treatment. So we really do track the level of cracking because we know the longer these cracks stay open, we're going to start seeing structural problems. So we're just tracking the regression of our pavements. We track the structural integrity of your pavement. These are all isolated structural icons, and that's because they're on a decent road with maybe a couple critical spots. We'll also track mass structural, and we'll show you some of that on your information here shortly, which is going to show us that it's now the pavement is becoming being structural problems are being more of a condition of what that pavement is. Rather than it being isolated in nature, it's becoming more representative of what the pavement is. And then we have potholes. Of course, we know that's where you're getting a lot of calls. These are action points. Again, we're going to track all those. We have two types here. You have the major potholes that the public calls in that you guys respond to every single day. And we also have what we call a pothole 2, which might be an edge condition. It's something that the public's not going to call in about, but at the same time, we do know that it's important. If they're out there fixing a pothole, go ahead and shore up some of those edge conditions. And finally, we gather some drainage information. And it's not to find all your drainage issues, trust me on that, but it is while he's out there, if he can see that we have standing water in a ditch, or we see sediment on a pavement, or we see standing water, we're going to report that back to you just so you can, if there's something that surprises you, you can go take a look at it. So there's different ways. Pavement management isn't one thing. It's a lot of different activities that we do. And so we really want to, the data helps us take our entire network and look at it. One thing about the T-SPLOS program, we're really focusing on these impactful delay penalties that you have. And so we're going to get into that as well. If this is a good stopping point to take some questions, we can take them. If not, we can move forward with some other information. I'm going to just keep on going.
All right, thank you, sir.
So this is your workbook, and so all that information that we're going to look at gets compiled in here. And this has all of your streets, the districts that they're in, speed limits, where they start, where they end, their functional classification, and then we couple all this data with it. So if you look over here, you can see the lineal feet of each condition that's in there. It doesn't mean these are all together, but this does represent the amount of good on this pavement, the fair, the critical, and all that helps us determine this pavement condition index. If we keep going out, we see all the distresses that we gather, all the actionable items that make up this entire assessment that we've done. We've got some other tools out here, some project planning tools, but just so you kind of understand what's going into the workbook. This is a summary of the information that was gathered that Antonio was talking about, that we've gone out and done this assessment. Let me just say that this 78.2 network level PCI, that is a very good number. And so I tip my hat. It's a very good number for an entire network, especially one that's as growing and has as much traffic demands as the city of South Fulton has. There are better in the world. Let me just say, they don't have the demands you have, and that is a very good network. You have 55% of your network, over half of it, that's in excellent or good condition. And so I just want to lift that up. This is a metric of success. So over time, as we gather information, we want to see this number go higher. It can go lower. It doesn't mean the world's falling apart if it goes lower, but we don't want to see a trend where it keeps going lower. Well, this is kind of one metric of this is where we are today. Are we going to keep it there? Are we going to improve it? Or is it getting worse? So it's a metric of success is what it is, just a metric to look at. And then as Antonio said, you have the 615 equivalent two-lane centerline miles, and you can see the miles associated with each condition here. It is just information, different ways of looking at this information. We also broke your information out into the districts so that every district, those of you sitting in this room, this means more to you than it may me, but this is each of your districts and how the information is broke out. Again, every PCI is greater than a 75, and a 75 is a good PCI number. It's a pavement condition index that is, it's not to the good category, but it's very close to it. It's right below it. And so you can just kind of look at this. And what that tells me is that the work is being distributed fairly, and that you can see the miles that you have. Some districts have more miles, but at the same time, I just want to point out that it does show that we have, everybody's got some lost, everybody's got some excellent, and it looks very balanced to me just looking at it. Having said that, let's move on to your actual data.
Mayor.
And look at some of that. This is your.
We can't even see
do we have a
this
question?
presentation. So I think this is
hold on one second. You want to ask for a point of information?
Yes.
I was just texting you, Mr. Clerk. We do have 10 minutes for each of these presentations. I'm not sure how many slides you have left, sir, but it is hard for us to see the presentation. Some people that are watching at home can probably see it more clearly. If you could just maybe give us 2 more minutes.
Let me just wrap it up.
Then we'll follow up with any questions that we have.
Point of information, Mayor.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Willis.
What's the point? We can't follow. We can't see. We can't see anything. We can't follow anything. So, it would have been nice for us to even get this much information that's being presented to us before. We're sitting here, and we've been sitting here for 10 minutes, and I just feel like it's a waste of our time and the constituents' time because we can't see anything. We can't follow anything. We don't understand what's going on.
Is that the consensus of the council?
Yes.
Can we not see what's on my screen?
I'm going to ask, if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to ask for a show of hands if that is the consensus of the council that they are not following this presentation.
I'm not totally following, but I do understand some things. Not
okay,
totally.
it looks like we're pretty evenly split. Was some version of this presentation not included in the work session packet?
No, not any
No,
of it.
we're gonna make it available, but we want it because it's very complex information. But once you see it, then you're gonna have it. All of you are gonna have it, so you can work with it, play with it, and understand better. There will be a link.
Okay, so I've got the floor. Let me make this note to everyone that is presenting to our council. If you're ever presenting to the council, this screen is far away for some of our council members, and they cannot see the screen. They cannot see the detail. It may be far away for some of our constituents, even though they can walk up closer to the screen. So if you have a presentation that you're making, no matter how complex, if you could include it in the packet, we would not only be able to give you some questions beforehand to help focus the presenter on the things that are of greatest importance to the council, but it will be easier for us to follow along, those of us who are having trouble seeing the screen. The chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Williams-Brown.
I think part of the problem, at least from this angle, is all I can see are the overhead lights. Well, I can see the lights are cutting the picture, so there's a glare. Can the screen be repositioned, because I think whoever comes up to make a presentation, it's gonna be the same problem because of the lights and the glare, if we don't have the presentation already.
And sir, while we're adjusting the screen, if you could perhaps adjust your presentation to just give us the 60-second summary,
Okay.
and then we will
Yes, sir.
follow up with questions that we might have about paving.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that made it worse.
So
Right.
ultimately,
Just give us one
talked
second,
about
sir.
the
Just give us.
transcripts.
We're you can't see what we're doing in here, but we're adjusting the screen, and maybe we're going to try
Okay.
adjusting one of these lights, turning out one of these lights for the remainder of this presentation. So you got some time to gather up your summary.
I think it really needs to be tilted forward to take the, because when he did that, yes, see, in that position, I can see it now. Or,
See, they can see it, the public can see it.
do we need a 5-minute recess while we try to work this out?
That's better.
Do you all see? Do you all have a glare on your side?
I can see.
We're going to email to you the link of the entire presentation.
Yeah, that did.
If you want to allow him a couple of minutes to summarize his presentation, will be good. So once you have the link with you, you're going to have much better and easy follow-up on your own.
All right, sir. We're ready. If you could just give us 60 seconds of the bullet points, and we may have some follow-up questions for you.
Okay. So basically, I just wanted to show you the transparency of the information. This is White Mill Road before it was paved. So we'll have that video information of just why that project was selected. We also incorporated in all of your T-SPLOST projects for over the years that are to come, so that we could click on any subdivision. We could look at this job. If we wanted to click on any roads within here, we could click on them, and it'll tell you the start and stop points of the T-SPLOST projects, how many miles, the amount of materials that's going to be used. And so really we just, and what we found is that in every one of these projects, if we were to look at it and then we were to take off the highlight there, what we're seeing is that our data really matched up well with the decisions that are being made. All these pavements have some sort of structural component, and we were just really pleased with how, when we look at this information, we start seeing pavements that are further down the regression curve. And so Antonio and his group they've really selected a lot of great projects to be selected, to be picked for T-SPLOST that's going to really improve your overall network. And I was just pleased with how well the data matched up with it. You know, we can look at this information and just see that he's really attacking some of the roads that probably maybe are receiving some of the complaints. But when we picked up the projects and looked at them, we could match them up with the condition data, and it's really going to be good for the city of South Fulton. And we were pleased with just how spot on these decisions are. But having said that, I could have shown you what a good road, fair road, and the transparency of the information. But I think if we're having a hard time viewing things, it's probably best not to view it. So, and I do apologize for that. I was not aware that council could not see what I was presenting.
All right, I'm going to open the floor for any questions. Councilman Sebastian, are you in the queue, or is this from?
I was in the queue, Mayor. Thank you. Mr. Antonio, is this something that we can get presented to us in small groups where we can see on our computer? Because clearly it looks like interested information, and I know you're showing this to us because you have some sort of end in mind. So if we have to make some sort of decision based on information like this, I would love to see, because this is not a PDF type document, because it looks like an active GIS, something that's going on there. So it's not just a, PDF document that it looks like we can get.
No,
by itself.
it is not. You will be able to see by video the actual conditions of the roads as December of 2022. And the primary reason of this analysis was to ensure that on the upcoming 3 years, the TIS Plus project that we have about $15 to $16 million, that we have picked the worst conditions and going to second year, the subsequent, and third year subsequent. So you will see that there's not such a thing that we pick up roads from District 2 instead of District 7 or District 3 and so on. We picked up the worst conditions going to repair on year 1, then year 2, and year 3. But you will have access to the, it's a massive data. You will have, it's like a video with all the information on it. I will have the final deliverables. I have books that I have. I'm gonna work with the consultant to ensure that you'll have a book, so you have as your reference as well, and the data will be there, and then you have your book as well to take it whenever you want to go to a public meeting or so on.
All right, thank you. He was turning on and off some layers. I wish I could make out what the different layers that he was turning on and off, right?
Right, that's correct.
I just couldn't. But that said, hopefully we can get it presented to us differently at another time.
Yeah. I wasn't aware either because I was looking at the screen and I was able to see on both of screens very well. I didn't know that you couldn't see anything on the front TV.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Willis?
So this company isn't repairing our roads. We're paying them to monitor our roads?
No, what they did is a paving assessment condition of the existing roads of 615 miles. They make recommendations, and they provide a paving condition index that goes from 0 to 100.
So how much are we paying them? Is it annually, monthly, quarterly? How much?
It was under 25,000, I believe, and that's the final stage of this study.
Is that annually 25,000?
No, one time deal.
Once a year,
Yeah, no, one time for the full assessment.
For the full assessment,
Yes.
25,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about how are we assessing like the tickets that are in C-Clicks fixed? Because we have some tickets going back that haven't been addressed for 2 years.
Right.
That we're seeking road repair for.
Yes, those tickets that we have are not being repaired actually reflects now in the study. So the study tells us that besides what you have on cyclic fix, you also have other roads that need to be repaired. So it provides us information that we don't need to get a call. And the hope is that now that we're in a position to hire a dedicated contractor for repairs, we can issue task orders and get those resolved ahead of us receiving the calls.
So, and it is your recommendation that we go with this service versus residents who actually live on the street and that can report that their street is in disrepair.
So what you do is like typically if you're going to do any paving repairs, you're going to have like hours. At this time between TS+1 and TS+2, we're probably going to have about $50+ million that we invested on repaving our roads. So this study, in lieu of the one that we've done it on 2020 under our prior vendor, this is hand on hand, going TS+2. The data is right there. We're actually doing the roads and subdivisions that are to be on the list as priorities.
I see. So when we did T-SPLOS-2, we went through a assessment, and then we identified the roads that's going to be paved under T-Splosh 2 under the assessment. And so, what's this assessment for?
So T-Splosh 2 was done based on experience. We walked the sites, we walked the roads, but we didn't do a technical evaluation like they did. Those roads were actually videotaped, 615 miles. They videotaped every single one, and they come out with all the technical information, which it matches with what we had. So with us, is doing this kind of job for years, kind of gives us the PCI of what a road would be at. But having it
Go ahead and handle the pavement for those projects that have been identified based on the city's assessment.
based on the city's assessment,
And then
and also this study. So there's an ITB that was sent to purchasing for 3 years paving for resurfacing of 3 years worth of projects, 23, 24, and 25. So all that we've done 4 or 5 years ago, we're at 80, 90, now are going down to 60. So those roads also were assessed now. That's why our paving condition index throughout the city is at 78.2, which is pretty good. Nobody else in Georgia has that PCI.
And so to be clear, 0 is bad and
Yeah.
100 is good. It's like a
Yes,
regular grading
a
scale.
100 is a new road. Perhaps Butner, some will tell all those roads that we just completed, it's a 100.
And then just one final question. Have we not done any paving for T-Splosh 2 projects?
Not yet. All we just started collecting the funding
Okay.
in April of last year. This is just, we just finished the first year collection. So we need the funding in order to advance projects. So we're going to advance about $6 million worth of projects for this year. In addition, we're already doing some construction projects for T-Splosh 2. They're shovel-ready projects. So it's a mix of projects, a mix of funding that we're trying to get on hand so we can let it. As on prior years, what we've done for T-Splosh 1, and the 1 year we put worth of 2 years.
That's been trying to get roads paved
Forever.
for 2 years at least. So I've got to have specifics.
I will definitely work with our finance director who leads the procurement division. I have been in contact with her and asking her that I do want to have those ITBs yesterday so I can go to resurface those roads.
Well,
Thank you for your presentation. I think to give everybody the answers they need, if you could take that T-Splosh 2 list and butt it up against the year, because they always happen, the paving always happens in the summertime. If we knew 2023, these are the subdivisions, 2024, 25 over that T-Splosh 2 list, because I think that's something we can communicate to our constituents so they at least have some timeline. I think that will get us to where we need to be, at least understanding. And I think just, this is back to education.
have when the RFP becomes active, and so that we can have awareness of what's going out. And for some reason that stopped.
Are you done, Councilwoman Willis? All right. Few follow-up questions. Thank you. This presentation was super informative. Next Step is the name of the company, correct?
First step.
Thank you. First Step. First Step. Do they also, I'm going to go back to my rural friends in Cedar Grove and Fife, do they assess gravel and unpaved roads?
No gravel roads. This is
Yes.
paved roads.
He just said yes. You said no.
But not, they don't provide.
We did not hear.
They don't provide paving condition index because it's not paved.
Got you. So they assess it, but they don't score it?
Right, it's a gravel road. Our roads is just to assess the paving condition, the paved roads.
All right. I'm going to amplify Dr. Rao's point. We've had this discussion around sidewalks, you know, and URAs about making sure, like, you know, we have some. I believe at the end of any public works presentation,
Have a public works location. We don't have the heavy equipment. We don't have mechanics. We don't have resources. We don't have many things that we would love to have it. But these days, when you look at any public works department, it's a hybrid approach where we're saving more funds and we're providing better services. I think what we had before October of 2022, compared to what we have now, if you look at the report and what we're providing to you when it comes to rights-of-way maintenance, it is a whole difference. Back in before October, Camp Creek was a mess. Campbellton Road, Fairmont Road was a mess. Roosevelt Highway was a mess. Old National Highway was in distress. And I think we've done many things. Right.
Just, I want to keep us on time, and I'll just close with this. In the same way that there's maybe a timeline final sheet that our constituents would like to see, I would be interested in some sort of timeline sheet that shows all a spreadsheet that shows all the services that we're outsourcing and the projected date to bring them in-house, even if it's years out, right? Just so we can, just something visual to see, that would be very helpful for me. Dr. Rao.
Just to clarify.
Further details on the rules and regulations around how this program or how this grant is administered, and some informational documents that are pertinent to the city of South Fulton. So again, the Community Development Block Grant program supports community development activities to build stronger and more resilient communities. The process of doing this are implementing activities that may address needs such as infrastructure, economic development projects, public facility installations, community centers, housing, rehabilitation, the list goes on. And that information, again, is available on active links that are in the presentation that should have been made available to all of council and mayor, and will be available to the public when this presentation goes live on the website. We can go to the next slide, please. So the city of South Fulton was awarded in fiscal year 21 are eligible, and there's a breakdown of all of that information provided there. The consolidated plan is pretty much the blueprint that you will follow that will inform the annual action plan. Now, I want to also preface this presentation with this. A lot of this information is not, this presentation is not heavy on images. I don't have a lot of pictures in here, and this is on purpose. The job of working with CDBG is not a bullet and a list of responsibilities for someone. It is actually the job. This grant has to be managed by someone who, or persons who are going to be fully dedicated and immersed in CDBG in order for it to work the way that it should. So I just want to be clear about that. With the consolidated plan, again, it's the overarching plan on how the city plans to use the funds, and the annual action plan is the consolidated plan broken up annually on projects that will be done on an annual basis with the funds have been allocated annually. Now, within the annual action plan actually breaks down the specific projects and activities that you must be in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, and make sure that those forms are completed before the project can commence. So from there, we can go to the next slide, which is IDIS. Now, IDIS is an acronym for the Integrated Disbursement and Information System. So basically, it's an online management system where you will enter in your actual projects and activities, and once those projects and activities are entered in, then that will allow for you to be able to draw down the funds for those projects. The annual action plan is also uploaded here. The consolidated plan is also uploaded here. And again, the individual projects are loaded here as well. The IDIS system requires that you have certain people working on CDBG projects. It can also be used for hiring consultants to come in and help to administer the program and actually do all of the annual action plans, the capers, and can do all of the administrative work. There was $25,000 that was allocated for fire, and then code enforcement, $150,000. Next slide, please. The same for fiscal year 2022 with the $466,000 that was allocated. It was been down by code enforcement, Parks and Rec, and Public Works, CDRA again. So now we're going to go into the actual projects themselves. So here I have a big red X going through code enforcement, a section, which is important because, again, as stated before, we have $100,000 in one fiscal year that was dedicated to administrative services. I would submit that we might want to consider looking into getting a consultant to come in and help us to get this money out the door, to get the projects done, service the areas that need them, and be able to file our paperwork properly so that we do not further not meet deadlines and then have our funds get a less amount each year, because HUD will take the money back or will award you less money the next year if you're not meeting the timeliness schedule.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Smoot, I don't want you to skip through the project list. I think that's the most important part of the presentation. So don't skip through it. I just wanted to, yeah. So.
Wrap it up. I got you, no problem. And again, we have not expended any of the funds. So even though I could go through these individual projects and they all sound nice, for instance, we have the facade grant program in the consolidated plan or the annual action plan. So a modification of that plan would allow for us to be able to include that in the plan, all right? But with that, again, we're up against the clock because you have the timeliness issue. We have to have citizen participation before we can actually proceed with a project. So once you do all of that, you're literally doing it all over again because you want the community to chime in on whether or not this is something that they want. Then HUD has to approve it. Then we'll be able to include that in our plan and then start those projects. So those would be like the three things that are affecting us being able to funds to relocate residents. No matter how many roaches, how many rats they may have in their place, you cannot use these funds for that purpose. Okay? Two more questions. What is considered a conflict of interest? Self-explanatory. Of course, again, you can't use it for personal purposes. You cannot use it to assist with activities that you have any type of ability to make decisions on. So if you are an elected official, you cannot use CDB funds for any personal benefit. Again, the regulation is included in that slide. And one last question,
District 5, I believe, right?
6.
Oh, 6? District 6. So we could change the name, and I could give you a park if you want, but it's actually District 6. And actually, City Grove Park is in District 4. Okay, not 6. But we could always switch the money, it's okay, if you would approve that, all right?
Yes,
But thank you, but that list of recommendation for us to see would be nice.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams Brown. Do we want to refresh this Here, I'm going to clear this out. Everybody get back in the queue again if you want to get in the queue. Okay, so yeah, while I'll just go by hands. I'm going to go around. It's not, I do have to just make this announcement. I have been getting several complaints throughout the evening about sound and glitching video. So whether or not we get Wi-Fi for this building in the CDBG, we gotta get this fixed. Every month this is a problem, and we've been here like a year now. So
into everything that we reported a couple of months ago. And what the HUD official said, because I sat in that meeting, is that if we do not spend this money, we won't lose it, but we will lose allocation. And it makes no sense when we have 3 parks that are in less developed census tracts, Welcome Mall, Creel, and Burdett. And when I can go outside and see our sheds crumbling and falling apart and picnic benches falling apart. And then when you go to Creel Park, a lot of things that need to be done to Creel Park. When you go to Burdick, there are a lot of things that need to be done in Burdick. And the number one things that people complain about is making sure we have better parks and services. And a lot of stuff hasn't been budgeted. This money can be spent. So what I would like to see from here is recommendations. And if you need our help, if you got 3 of us, and that have parks in less developed census tracts, let's get with the park director, let's get with the city manager. We have some properties in our districts that need to be demolished. And I know we can only go up to 30%, but we still have some. Because what was said is that if we don't have a balance of less than $500,000 by November, then next year we may not receive allocation. And I yield and let Mayor Pro Tem Williams Brown. But I knew this, and I said this, and I reported this, and I want to thank you, Ms. Smoot, so much for giving confirmation to what we said a couple of months ago.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So we do have a grants manager, Ms. Antoinette Williams, who handles grants for the city. I would also like to, if I may, thank Councilwoman Rao, because it was at closer to the beginning of the year where she sent an email out to the city manager giving us the dates for training for CDBG, and it was because of that I was able to get the training and get the CDBG basics certification. So thank you, Councilwoman Rao, for encouraging us to get the training that was necessary. So we do have a number of staff members who have gone through the CDBG training. Some have gone further and taken the exam and got the certification, but we do have a number of staff members who have the training from CDBG. So between the staffing with the training, those who have the certificate, myself, I believe Ms. Antoinette Williams has the certificate as well, and also she's the grants manager. That's who we have at our disposal to assist with CDBG.
So it's interchangeable. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that explanation, sir. I appreciate it. And thank you, Ms. Smith.
You're welcome, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams Brown. Councilwoman Pritchard. All right, thank you. We are about 15 minutes behind schedule, but This is the earliest we've gotten to our zoning hearing in months. What is the proper procedure? I'm sorry, there are a lot of people talking out of turn, so I'm getting confused. Attorney McClendon, what is the proper procedure to suspend this meeting so that we can go to our 6 o'clock scheduled zoning public hearing?
We can just recess the meeting, Mr. Chair.
All right. We wanted to get his vote if he was there. All right, and I will entertain a motion to, I'm sorry, we don't need to do that. I'm going to call. I think that's a yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call to order the zoning hearing. Mr. Clerk, please sound the roll.
The work session was recessed at 6:19 p.m. by a vote of 6-0. This is the roll call for the alcohol zoning public hearing scheduled for 6 o'clock. The Honorable Catherine F. Ryle, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4. The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Township 4.
The Honorable Natasha Williams Brown, District 6.
Present.
The Honorable Linda B. Pritchett, District 7.
Present.
And lastly, the Honorable Mayor Khalid.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, please sound the first item.
First item, item 1 under number 3. It's U23-001. It's a public hearing, application by Jim Warren for a special use permit for a church or other facility.
Voice vote for Mr. Reeves. Or you can raise your hand on the Zoom if Councilman, I'm sorry, if Clerk Adams, can you see his hand raised on the Zoom or chat?
Not yet, no. There we go.
Okay.
That was unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next case is U23-002. It's a public hearing, application by Dominique Nar, a special use permit for a personal care home at 4530 Janice Drive. The property is zone R6, and it's located in District 5. The request, is this to withdraw, or the request is to withdraw by the applicant?
All right.
I move that we.
Wait. Attorney McClendon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This case, case U23-002, has been withdrawn by the applicant.
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal.
I move that we accept the withdrawal.
Start at 7 p.m. as opposed to 6 p.m. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Willis.
I really think if we can stay on topic and talk about things germane to the agenda, that would alleviate a lot of lost time as well. For example, we talked about why is Public Works, or giving us a plan for Public Works to come in-house. That wasn't germane to the agenda. That wasn't on the agenda. He was presenting what was on the agenda. And so I just think if we try to stick to things that's on the agenda, because that was a whole, if you go back and time it, that was a whole 15-minute discussion.
I hear you, Councilwoman Willis. Notwithstanding that tonight, it is the case that we never start on time. So, we've had these conversations about germanity and brevity, but somehow every meeting for the past 3 months, we've ended at midnight. Or later, or 1 o'clock. And every zoning hearing, I have the floor, and every zoning hearing we've started. So
It's the will of the council to do that with the next fiscal year. Because that's just a few months away.
Right.
And, yeah.
all right. I'm sorry, Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we have I've been on a thread where we give out some information for those meetings down to the end of May, and I would hate to have to go back to the folks and try and scramble and change them now. Also, we started this discussion about meetings at one of the council retreats in 2022. I would love to see us come back after the break, and I don't know if it will align, as Councilmember Rawls said, to the next fiscal year. But certainly, you know, we should work this out in a retreat type setting. That's my opinion. And we can look at all our meetings and come back, hopefully, as we go into the fall, with a better plan. Because I do agree with you, we don't ever start at 6. And so I think realigning it is in order. We just have to figure out when to do it and how.
All right, thank you. Did anyone else have any other questions? Let's do a vote by show of hands.
Yeah, vote. Oh, okay, yes.
I record that as unanimous.
All right. Thank you. All right, and please sound the next item.
Next item is the first read of an ordinance to amend Section 16-2015, eligibility for license of Title 16 alcoholic beverages of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances related to eligibility of alcohol applicants, to amend Section 16-2021 denial application, and for other lawful purposes. This is sponsored by Council Members Willis and Rao, and this is the first read.
All right. Is there any discussion on this first read, Councilman Willis or Rao?
No.
All right. Seeing and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will take a show of hands.
I record that as unanimous. We are adjourned at 6:34 p.m.
All right. We are ahead of schedule. If anyone would, I'll entertain a motion if anyone would like to take a brief recess, or we can just power through this part 2 of the presentation.
Our next person is Ms. Eleanor Watson. She's also a member of our team and a resident of South Fulton for how many years? And tell them where you live.
30 years. I'm off of Wexford Road, but off of Stonewall Tail, and afternoon to everybody.
Thank you. Our presenter this evening is Mr. Reginald Gainey, and he will share with you details about what the ERC program is, how it operates, who can take advantage of it, what the benefits of the program will be to the residents, the business owners, as well as to the various businesses within the districts. And as we've been listening throughout this meeting, we see that the council members are very concerned about the constituents in their districts. So we hope to share with you information that will give you a greater understanding of what the ERC is and how it can benefit your constituents. Thank you. Mr. Reginald Gainey.
Hello, council members and residents of South Fulton community. We're here to just give you some updates on the ERC programs and let you know about some of the amendments that were made to the program for the business community within the city. The full suspension of your operation. There are shutdowns of their supply chain. Remember hearing a lot on the news about, everybody having supply chain issues. They had a reduction in their services that was offered, right? Reduction in the workforce with employees. If the business had a disruption in one particular part or division of their company, then they can still apply. There was an inability to visit the client's job site. Suppliers were unable to make their deliveries and crucial goods and materials. Additional spacing requirements, right, for social distancing. We all remember the 6 feet. There was a change in the job roles, the tasks and the functions that they couldn't do from home or remote, right? All these issues will help, all these qualifications and issues will help a business still qualify for that ERC program. So there were many, like I say, amendments made from the initial onset of the program. A lot of businesses don't know about these amendments. That's why one of the reasons we want to bring it to the council, let you know, as far as the business community within the city of South Fulton, that maybe in 2020, where they didn't qualify, now they do qualify because of the amendments that were made. How does this process work? Our role is to identify the prospective clients, share with them the ERC opportunity, schedule a call, that these funds are right there, they don't know anything about them, right? We're bringing this information to you so that you can get the word out, right, to the businesses within your city to let them know, hey, you guys can go and file, get this money, put this money back in the community, back in your businesses. They're able, then hire more people, right? Or maybe even keep, some of the staff that they got, right? Which in turn puts money back into the city.
So, okay, so that leads me to the question of why would you come to the city council to ask us to send the information out to the businesses instead of just going to the businesses yourself?
We are going to the business ourselves, right? We talked to the mayor asked us to come to the city council to let everyone know as a whole what's there, what's available, right? And then you in turn, right? Because you can reach people we can't reach, frankly. We don't have access to all the business community within the city of South Fulton, right? We can look them up. We're going daily, right? But you have greater access to them to let them know, hey, this is what's available to you. And as we said, most of them don't know. The government said there's over 6 million businesses that qualify, right? It's only a fraction of those that have already received their money. Most businesses and companies that
You connected with the South Fulton Chamber and then the Old National Merchants Association, because that's where most of the small businesses are located. But thank you for your presentation, and if you can get that one pager to us, we'll do our best to get it out. But I don't know if we're going to be able to make such much of an impact, because it's only like 6 days away from the tax deadline.
It's not dependent on the April 18th this year's tax deadline.
Okay.
Doesn't have anything to do with that.
Okay. Well, that's probably who you all need to work with, Artie Jones. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. You're welcome.
We thank you all very much for your time and for your attention. And our main focus and goal here was just to educate you and bring you up to speed on what the Employee Retention Credit Program is. There have been major changes since it was first implemented, and many people, even professional accountants, tax preparers, they are still under the old assumption that many businesses don't qualify because maybe they had an increase in revenue as opposed to a decrease. So there are many changes, as Reginald said, that have been made to this, and our goal is just to enlighten you and bring you up to date on what's going on. And we certainly thank you for referring us to the Economic Development Director.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. It's a lot better. How's everyone doing this evening?
Good.
Wonderful. How are you? I'm great. I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible because I know there's a lot to cover. Can everyone see the screen okay?
More or less.
Okay. So cultural affairs in the city of South Fulton. Cultural affairs now consists of one facility in the city of South Fulton, which is the Southwest Arts Center. Next slide, please. Our vision is to become the best and the most well-known provider of arts education and cultural activities in the nation. Our mission is to produce and present high-quality arts education and cultural activities and events to residents who may not otherwise have access to activities of this type, and to make culturally enriching opportunities available to all citizens. Our goals and objectives, if you do not know and are not familiar with cultural affairs, our programs employ and collaborate with top producing artists, maintain existing successful partnerships, improve existing employee skills, and provide excellent customer service to all citizens. Goals and objectives for the facility are to bring the facilities back to post-2020. We were booming. However, COVID happened. And you can see by the numbers how it impacted our programming. Next slide, please. So during COVID, we had to pivot. So we moved into virtual programming. And we offered virtual classes, dance classes, total body fitness, workshops, hand building pottery, group guitar, and visual art exhibitions. We also had some live events that were socially distanced, and they were outside. Those events included Wind Down Wednesdays, which were live shows, hip-hop roundtables, which were live shows streamed via the internet, weekly game shows that included staff and citizens, the Juneteenth virtual concert, and outdoor concerts, and our virtual holiday extravaganza. So in 2021, our statistics started to pick up again. However, they were slow. As you can see, we had virtual events, classes, elections came back. We did the South Fulton graduations at Wolf Creek Amphitheater. We had 2 art camp sessions. We presented the end of week art camp productions that were, of course, socially distanced. We presented 8 exhibitions and 60 in-person events. And you can see by the, we always need staffing. We're in the process now of hiring 2 part-time staff members, but with the amount of programming and events that we do, we can always use more staffing. It is a dream to have another building on campus. We have outgrown our current facilities, and we would like to expand. We do have land on that campus that we can expand on. So that would be a dream of ours, to expand to another rehearsal space on that campus. And the other area of need is our marquee. Our marquee that sits in front of the theater has been inoperable for a while, and we would like for that to be repaired. So those are the areas of need for Southwest Arts Center. Any questions so far?
All right, I'm gonna start with the queue, and I see Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. I live all the way out in District 4, and I would love to support more things at the Arts Center. It takes me almost, I would say, a good 30, 35 minutes to get up there. But sometimes I don't, as a council member, I should know.
To use our facilities, and then having the maintenance be on the backs of our taxpayers, because it's not happening in any other city. And a lot of people are running to South Fulton to use our facilities because we haven't mastered in that area of making sure that we are being compensated like we should, so that we can maintain our facilities. And so I don't see the numbers in this presentation, you know, what people are paying, how much we're expending. You know, you just said a chiller is out, and we're not gonna get, that's a lot of money. And I know that wasn't cheap to replace.
Right.
So, and with those a lot, that's like almost what, over almost 50 strategic partners. So I want to see the numbers.
Okay.
And I want to see also the cost. You have needs, area of needs. And you have HVAC replacement, replace stage floor or main stage, portable sprung floor, water fountains. How much is all of this going to cost? I don't see any numbers. And we have our main roles here in City Council is policy and budgets. And so for us to make the decisions and give you all what you're requesting for, we got to know how much stuff costs.
Got it.
Okay, Mr. Toms. So
I'm sorry to cut you off.
I just would like to see if you can tie some numbers to this presentation, because these are a lot of strategic partners. And I'm glad you're doing a good job, but we need to get more information out so people can know what we're doing in the Arts Center. And then we need to make sure that we're getting what's due to the city so that we can maintain the facility.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yes. And we also, I'd just like to let you know that we did just get access to the city's website. So Cultural Affairs does have a tab on the website. Upcoming productions are currently posted. Rental information is currently posted. Programming is posted. as well as upcoming exhibitions is posted on the city's website. If you click on the Cultural Affairs tab.
Okay, I do see some folks in the queue, but I want to just chime in and, for a second and offer some context. And first, I want to start with an apology. Ms. Avini got word about this presentation on Friday, though we had placed it on the agenda a week before today. So it should be more replete with information. But the Bible and the parable of the talents teaches us that if we are faithful over a few things, right, that we will be given many things. And I think that what is happening and not happening, Fulton County Arts Commission that goes to Southwest Art Center. Could you, Ms. Stevens Albright, just talk a little bit about the funding that we may or may not be, that you may or may not be receiving, and the funding models of how theaters actually work?
Sure, and good afternoon, and thank you for having me. My title is Managing Director of True Colors Theater Company. Jamil Jude is the Artistic Director. So if you think of us, I'm the left brain, he's the right brain. So I'm the business part of the situation. So I really would be more comfortable answering questions for you, but I can tell you that we last year, actually this year, we're projecting about a $1.4 million budget. That's how much money we're going to spend. And most of that money that comes into us is contributions. Only 19% of the money that comes in to support us is from tickets. So everything else comes from foundations, governments, corporate sponsorships, and individuals, but only 19% of that comes from tickets. And for us, we get 19% of our contributions is from people. For other theaters our size, like Actors Express or Theatrical Outfit, they get 40, 50, 60% of their income from people. So if you translate that, we are right now budgeting about $138,000 from people. If we were to get what they got at Actors Express, we'd be getting $400,000. So we're very, very, very reliant on foundations, governments, and companies. What we pay.
We had this play Good Bad People, so it was a world premiere. We had another world premiere during Christmas. If we want to support our local artists and writers and dancers and actors, we are going to have to start putting in a little bit more, I think, as a city. I do just have one more question about promotions, Ms. Avini. What is the current model? Because I know many times when I have tried to promote a show, there isn't a link on the city's website or the Southwest Art Center page where people can go and buy tickets. So how are tickets and promotions being handled show to show?
So because we do not have the staff to operate a box office, it is up to the presenter of each production to sell and manage their own tickets.
And does that mean, and they're also then responsible for their own promotions?
Yes.
And is that?
We do promote the programming that happens at Southwest through our various channels, our social media, the constant contact, and now on the city's website, but we do not operate their box office. So on each flyer, there is a link for people to buy tickets, but they cannot buy tickets through Southwest Art Center until day of show when the presenter is there to operate the box office themselves.
No.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any, but I would have to check the list that Ms. Williams provided me.
Have you, as the director, applied for grants from the Georgia Council for the Arts or the
Not
UNEA?
since I've been director, no ma'am.
Yes, go. You can stay up here. Yes.
As you know, we get funding from them. They're very small grants, and typically when they come to us, they want us to work with municipalities. I don't know that they actually fund municipalities. But I just wanted to.
Well, actually, they do. The Georgia Council for the Arts has a grant for cultural facilities. And so I would like to see, and to the extent that we have a grants manager who seemingly can't manage to write grants, I would like to see more of these opportunities being pursued for the city, because even though the funding may be small for the arts, every dollar that we can get through these grants, such as the cultural facilities grants from Georgia Council for the Arts, is a dollar taxpayers don't have to spend to subsidize, and underwrite the Southwest Arts Center. The second thing
that are not there, you know, that we know they're coming, but they're not on the list. I definitely want to see that, as well as they lost several positions, so they're not fully staffed at the Southwest Arts Center. So we need to make sure that's corrected. So those are my comments. And before we can take care of anybody else, we got to make sure we take care of home. So.
Thank you, Dr. Al. Councilwoman Willis.
I'm going to ask Mr. Toms if you can clear up this, because there's a lot of misinformation around Wolf Creek and us not owning Wolf Creek, and, you know, why are we putting money into Wolf Creek? Could you please, between you and Mr. McClendon, explain why the deed has not been turned over to the city of South Fulton?
Anything dealing with the deed in Fulton County, I'm going to have to defer to the city attorney's office.
So it's my understanding the only thing that we are waiting on is EPD certification, and until that certification is turned over, the county cannot sign over the deed. Am I correct, or am I wrong, or is there something else that I'm missing? Because there's a lot of misinformation being put out about the city in Wolf Creek, and I just really, and it's not true, and I just really wish somebody would clear it up and stop allowing the narrative, the false narrative to you know, perpetuate.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Willis. I will have to
Fulton now, and we're the largest city that he represents in South Fulton, and we have the main art center here in South Fulton, and so we need to have a conversation with him to find out how can we get grant money like Fairburn did through them, because they do have art grants that we're not getting. And Mr. Toms, we might need to look into contracting someone out to write grants on behalf of the city and pay them a contingency fee based on their production. Because we have, since I've been sitting in this seat, 2017, try to recruit someone to do that, and we keep recruiting people who has the expertise to administer grants but not write them. And there's a difference between a grant administrator and a grant writer. And we have not been able to secure a grant writer that wants to work here in the city full time. Most grant writers want to be consultants, or they want to be contracted out, and that needs to be done ASAP. We have transportation grants, we have art grants. Let's keep it germane. We have a lot of art grants that are being left on the table. Federal, state, and local money.
Stalling. Just get it done. And I'm going to look this way because I don't want nobody to say that I'm bullying and harassing them if I look that way. We don't need to have this conversation again. Do what we said to do when we said to do it, and we wouldn't be here having this same conversation right now.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Williams Brown, yes, I agree. This is something that I believe month 2 of me being on council, I was at NLC. And I remember sending a text saying, hey, they are literally giving away money up here in Washington, D.C.
Right.
How are we going to access all of these monies? And came back in. I said, we need to get a grants department going. And Councilmember Reeves and Mayor Pro Tem Williams worked with me, with staff in a couple of meetings. And I thought we were clear. And when I asked for the legislation to put it in place, I kind of was told it was already in place in the finance department, I believe, which is not what we really requested. Kind of sorry you're getting caught.
So I want to thank the council for this, and then we have this other part. But I want to thank the council for this work session. Not going to be redundant, just ditto everything that my colleagues have said. I will note that I remember Councilwoman Gums and particularly Dr. Rao, we've been talking about grant writers since 2017 when the city started. And some departments have just gone ahead and put grant writers. I think the police have a grant writer, firefighters have a grant writer. So if you want to just put it in your budget for next year, I think that's important. I also would encourage, because since I came in 2017, we've been talking about the water fountains and the bathrooms, and I've heard about the curtains from, you know, actors and things. So let's get it all in the budget, grant or no grant, so that we can, you know, get it done. I want to say the lesson again. This isn't about pitting facilities against one another, but I think there are lessons that we can learn. The HVAC went out and the chiller has been on order for a year. We know this is going to be a hot summer. You all may remember a couple of years ago when we had graduation out at Wolf Creek, we were baking. Unlike some of the newer facilities, we don't have covering. So if we need to get cooling stations or misters, if we need to come up with a plan for our EMS to have people out there when we're doing shows, we need to be working on that now.
There is a back
Anniversary season. So congratulations on that. All right, I'll let you go on to the next item.
The second part of the presentation is the Wolf Creek Amphitheater operations plans. I'd like for you to keep in mind this is a proposal. So it is open for suggestion. We ready with the first slide? Okie dokie. You can go to the next slide, please. So, our objectives for Wolf Creek are to create a City of South Fulton branded positive patron experience, provide high-level customer service, maximize event visibility and Wolf Creek Amphitheater utilization, effective and efficient facility management, and fiscal accountability. Next slide, please. Just a couple of facility details, if you're not all familiar with these details. Is that better? Okay. It includes the covered stage, walkways and ramps that are ADA accessible. There's site lighting and landscaping, including the sod and the asphalt paving and stripping. There's fencing out at Wolf Creek Amphitheater, exterior painting of the buildings and the carpet. Parking is currently being addressed. Exterior painting of the buildings, I'm not sure if that's being addressed yet or not. And the carpet, I don't think the carpet is being taken care of yet, but it is in the year one timeline. Year two would be the HVAC in the offices, the fixed seating area, and replace the window units in the offices. Year three would be the HVAC work in the backstage area and dressing room areas. Year four would be the exterior work on the buildings, the water heater replacements for skyboxes, public restrooms, VIP hospitality area. And then year five would be another parking lot refresh and painting of the exterior surfaces. So from what I gather, the repairs of the pipes and the skyboxes are being addressed now, the toilets in the public restrooms, the parking lots are being resurfaced, the mold remediation is being addressed in the backstage offices, and cosmetic renovations of the skyboxes are taking place. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of the renovation and repairs timeline. This just shows year 5, what I just summed up. So if you have not been out to the campus of Wolf Creek, this gives you a color overview of what Wolf Creek campus looks like. Next slide, please. This slide shows a sample of $71,071. So the current RFPs that are out, there was a concert promotion services contract that went out for the summer concert series, and council has approved for the city manager to enter into negotiations with Omega 14 for that RFP. Administration. The City of South Fulton's Wolf Creek staff would provide a master calendar to selected vendors and service providers. That master calendar would identify events consisting of concerts, festivals, community events, and theatrical productions consistent with the city's overall objectives. The marketing manager would be responsible for the development and implementation of all marketing and promotion for each event in coordination with the promoter. The promoter will in turn work with the facility director and the production manager to coordinate all bookings and venue operations for identified event dates included on the master calendar. It is proposed that the venue enter into a 70-30 partnership with the promoter, with the city taking in 70% of the total profit of ticket sales, food and beverage merchandising. I'm sorry, food and beverage and merchandising. Next slide, please. Monthly and yearly janitorial plans. The deliverables for the technical services would include sound and lighting equipment for each event, necessary staff and labor, and setup and breakdown for each event, which would be load in and strike. Next slide, please. The events planned for the current 2023 season, there's the Divine Nine race in June, the Juneteenth celebration, and July through September would be the summer concert series. I believe there's also a rental on the books for June 2nd for the Wolf Creek Amphitheater. The proposed Juneteenth 2023 event. The date is Sunday, June 18th, time 2 to 10 p.m. Of course, the location is Wolf Creek Amphitheater. The proposed activities would be a kids zone, art and craft vendors, local entertainment, DJ, fireworks. The proposed musical acts were Higher Calling, Algebra, We Got the Jazz, Young Bloods, Kilo, Goody Mob, with a comedic host and a DJ.
Sorry, can I just really quick? You said the proposed acts were.
Yes. So an RFP was supposed to go out through the procurement department for the promoter for Juneteenth. I don't believe that RFP was able to go out before we lost that procurement manager. So
at the February meeting, when we were given a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper with no information and some numbers to put it through the RFP process so that things would be done decent and in order.
correct.
Understanding that there's been personnel changes since that time, my question is there nobody else in this city, because we do have a finance director, right? Is there nobody else in this city or the attorneys or somebody who could make sure or is making sure, since we're in the present, that work is getting done? Because I believe it is April the 11th, and we're about 60 days out from an event for which we apparently have no talent.
Councilman Reeves, you'll be next after Councilwoman Willis.
Okay, so to answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem Williams-Brown, this presentation was actually supposed to be presented to you all prior to the meeting where I presented you the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with the information requesting said artists. At that particular time, I was not able to divulge those artists because they were still being courted, so to speak. At the conclusion of that meeting, I had several meetings with the former procurement manager to try and get that RFP out the door. And before you, it was discussed in some of those meetings that we piggyback off of the RFP for the summer concert series and allow whoever was selected for the summer concert series to then acquire artists for the Juneteenth. However,
Can I stop you right there?
certainly,
Because I don't think I understand how in a meeting a decision can be.
Willis.
Thank you. Well, I think we should be solution focused, but we still have a right to ask questions for why what we voted on and what we sit in these meetings for 8 and 10 hours and discuss and vote on why it wasn't executed. And so, do we not have anybody that can do procurement?
may I answer that?
I mean, I'm asking the city manager. I just want to keep.
There are 2 employees working in procurement.
Are they qualified to put out RFPs? I mean, can they put out RFPs? And because we're basically in May, and Juneteenth is, I mean, if we put out an RFP, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea at this point, if it's the will of the council, the will of the city council, to piggyback off of the vendor that was selected for the summer concerts. Because if we try to put out, if we can legally do that, I mean, we're talking about $70,000. We're talking about $70,000. So, you know, can we legally do that, Attorney McClendon?
I'll defer to answer that question in an executive session.
Thing I want is, I don't understand why those skyboxes are considered VIP seating and they all the way in the back of the stadium. Has there any, and I know this is probably a futuristic request, has there been any request to maybe build more skyboxes that's closer to the stage?
Not to my knowledge, no. I think they were put back there originally because that was the easiest access for VIPs to be out of the general seating area and be in an enclosed space where they can enjoy refreshments, drinks, dinner, have their own private parties back there. So instead of having them backstage or close to the stage, they didn't build any seating area for VIPs closer to the stage.
Let's see, I've seen it where the covering is over at the tables close to the stage, and then those are like the VIP area seats.
Well, those are also VIP area seats, but if extra VIPs or other VIPs don't want to sit at table seating and they do want to pay that premium for the skyboxes, then they would be available.
Okay.
But yes, the tables down front are VIP seating, and they would have VIP prices.
Okay, I yield. This is, because half of the questions I got need to be in executive session.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Gums.
So I guess my question is, when are
What comes with that?
I'm not sure if a current rental fee schedule has been proposed for Wolf Creek.
Right.
It has?
It has.
Okay, and approved?
Yes. I think it's 10,000. But what comes, what do you get with that? Do you just get the
You
raw
get the bare
space?
bones of the facility, you just get the space.
And you bring everything else?
Yeah,
And-
everything
and-
else has to be shipped in.
And so I mean, we could talk about it, but I know that, you know, this might not, it might not be ideal. It might be something that we do, but we have partners, taking it back to Southwest, right? Because there are things that we can learn there. We have partners like Dominion and True Colors, but then there are other people that just rent. So like a lot of the shows that we have going on at Southwest, people are just renting them out and they're doing them. And that might be a kind of model that we have to consider until we get all these things online. And then lastly, has any discussion been given to leasing the naming rights to the skyboxes or to the theater itself? Because that could be a revenue generating sort of thing.
I believe that was
Yes.
proposed a while ago, but it hasn't been discussed recently.
Okay,
But
and
it's
so
always on the table.
Yeah, I would just put that on the to-do list. We have great corporate sponsors around here, and you know.
So these council concerns, I think they were primarily related to waste, solid waste, but I just wanted to kind of bring some of those forth because it kind of overlaps a little. You have the solid waste, the call center is actually, the vendor is responsible for the call center for solid waste. So as it relates to Secret Fix, we don't have a call center directly. One of the other major items is are we going to continue to use Secret Fix? We are looking at all technologies related to it, and Secret Fix is just one of the tools for customer service. So we're looking at doing a customer service needs assessment across the city, which will be a part of that. The current number of active tickets, you'll see the numbers through from, some of them go all the way back to 2019. 2023 active tickets, we have about 429. 2022, we have about 1,614. 21, 1,451, and 72 between 2019 and 2020. And those are active tickets. The next slide is a breakdown by departments. And these are, so the first column is active tickets that are currently open. If you notice on the community development is the big vast of the tickets that are out there. And we're looking at, I think the current number is actually 670, but when we first pulled it, several departments, like HR, finance, a lot of those people, there's really no need, with the exception of maybe a couple of one or two items that they need to be in there. So we've worked with the major departments, which is code enforcement, public works, and it's another one to kind of reduce that, a CDRA as well, to reduce those categories to make it more streamlined and group them together. So we are working through that now.
Now, does C-Click Fix have a dashboard, say per se, for the end users like yourself and the departments that have to tie in? Is there a way that that dashboard can be extended to us? I don't know if y'all want to take that on, but at least have the ability per district when things are being reported that people come to us with, at least on a dashboard of some type, we can look and see all the different things that are being reported in our prospective districts.
I'll see if we can do a reports, just add the reports to the reports that we provide you already. Just add a C-Click Fix report by district to see if we can do that. I'm not sure, I think we could possibly do it by district, but I had to check to see if we can do a report by district or is it just citywide. But I'll let you know within the next update.
And then with regard to something that you said where a particular task or function is assigned to a person, and then that person leaves and the thing just hangs out there in the air. But we should have like a like level of hierarchy, like where you know, if somebody was assigned to
People are saying those were already completed and closed. One of the things that I'm seeing also is a lot of the tickets that are coming through is from other solutions. So maybe they went to a primary solution and they were not getting the response that they wanted, so they went to Clerk Fix or even Open Records. And that's where some of the things that we're seeing with some of these age tickets, they've been resolved, but it was through the primary solution.
So if there's, because what I'm understanding from that answer is, if someone sends something into Public Works, but it's a CDRA issue, Public Works may code it as closed, right, from their end, but it's not that the issue has been resolved. It's just it's been closed out of Public Works. That's how I thought it was working.
Well, right now, I don't think that's exactly the issue. Public Works, if they get it, it's not theirs. We try, and not just Public Works, it's all departments. If it's not theirs, they send it back to an administrator. And then we try to get it to the right person. But what I was talking about, like permits. Permits has a primary solution that they use for all permitting.
Right.
But when they're not getting answers from permitting, and this is historical, they went to Clerk Fix to open it to try to get the answer. When they don't get the answer there, they go yet to Open Records to try to get the answer. I think that's where some of the actual time we're trying to fill, it went from one task to three to try to close one issue. And that's
And to me, even if people are out of the office, from a customer service perspective, there should be a backup. If the city is open and operating, there should be a backup call forwarding something, right? Or even a voicemail to say, we're out today, but call this number to help, right? Because when you're calling 5 numbers and getting 0 answered, that's what the people do. They then come to us, right? And we have to try to figure out, well, why is this not working? So thank you for kind of focusing, especially through the Clerk Fix, on the customer service.
And one thing related to the numbers, what we're also looking at, well, we've already kind of implemented in a couple of departments, is just have a main number for the department, and maybe even 2 for large departments with different divisions. And it's a main number that everybody in the office has access to, so when it rings, somebody needs to pick it up.
Right.
And then redirect it to the person that they're trying to get to versus having a number for an individual, because our retention rate is so poor that by the time you have a number you're working with somebody, they may not be tomorrow. So we're really trying to look at things like that to minimize those issues that we're seeing, to make it a lot easier for people to contact the office, because it's really about the service that they're trying to get, not necessarily the individual they're trying to reach.
That's correct. All right, sir. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rao.
Take me out off the queue, I'm good.
Okay.
Be hosting a webinar, speaking with individuals throughout our community to talk about Black maternal health and the things that we can look for as women, and just how we can really advocate through this time. There is some federal legislation that is moving through the House, and we want to continue to find ways to support it locally. Also, too, and that webinar will be on April the 13th at 6 o'clock. You can find out more information on the city's website, as well as my own or on my social media channels as well. On 4/15, we will be doing the Wolf Creek Trail cleanup, along with a paper shredding day at Wolf Creek Library. That is at what time? That is at 10 a.m. So we are doing that in partnership with Commissioner Marvin Arrington in Fulton County. And then, of course, you know, April is not just Autism Month, but is also Earth Day. Mr. Councilman Sebastian will tell you more about his autism activity that I do encourage everyone to go to. But on April the 22nd, of course, we just approved for environmental parade and fair, where we will have lots of vendors from the community come.
It's Helen.Willis at cityofsouthfultonga.gov, or you can text District 3. Is it District 3? District 3, and at 42828, 42828, and then you can subscribe to my newsletter there. Thank you so much.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things happening in District 4 for the rest of April. In partnership with Autism Branches and Ms. Tanya Newberry, we're hosting on this Saturday, the 15th, the second annual Autism Sensory Festival at Wilkerson Mill Park. And that starts from 10 in the morning until 5:30 p.m. So come out, drop by. It's a long day, but we are going to make sure that we really love on our citizens, our special citizens on that day who we need to. You're distracting me. On the 18th of April, we have a...
Please do come out. April 19th, Burdette Gym at 6:30 p.m. Chief Chad Jones is making the rounds this month, but please do come out and join us in District 6 so that we can also talk all things fire.
Thank you. District 7, Councilwoman Pritchett.
I want to thank everyone that came out on Saturday to the Food Truck Madness. We had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful crowd. A lot of our departments came out. I'd like to thank the police, fire, public works, Parks and Recreation, who was the brainchild for this idea. And I also want to thank Otis Nixon from the Atlanta Braves, who gave out baseballs, autographed baseballs. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman Williams, who got a baseball and came and hung out with us, and we had good fun, fellowship, and food. And we'll be doing more of that in the future. I have a coffee with the cop scheduled this Saturday at Acts 2 Church on Fayetteville Road. And we will be talking to the police in a casual setting, so that way any questions that you have, especially about setting up your community crime watch programs and the different activities that are going on in District 7, that you can be aware.
Amen. All right. Just want to give you another reminder for those of you all still watching, if you can hear. If you're behind on your mortgage payments due to the pandemic, we still have a rental and a mortgage assistance program through City of South Fulton, ga.gov. There is also a program through the Department of Community Affairs. You can double up on those programs. As you heard today, the True Colors Theater is celebrating their 20th anniversary season, and 14 of those 20 years have been housed at our wonderful Southwest Art Center. You've heard that we have an amazing show going up in June for Juneteenth, The Wiz. I can't think of a more appropriate celebration of joy. And there's another one, that Serious He-Man Ball, which will be coming up in August. You can get those tickets at True Colors Theater spelled R-E, not the way that we often spell it, theater.org. And there is a buy one, get one half off with the code NEWTRUE. Councilwoman Willis may have covered it, but we do have a Miracle League game here this weekend. We have 2 more in the spring season. We have a fall season coming up. Shout out to
litigation.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll just take a vote by a show of hands.
Record that as unanimous, including Councilmember Reeves.
All right, thank you, everyone.
We recess at 8:48 p.m.